Hello, I'm Jane Lewis and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Friday the 17th of October. And the Scottish Premiership is back.
Rangers have confirmed that youth coach Stephen Smith and 3 other members of the coaching staff, Brian Gilmore, Rhys Owens and Sal Bibbo, will lead the men's team for the Premiership match against Dundee United on Saturday.
Managerless Rangers host Dundee United. And there's a familiar face heading back to Rugby Park.
A lot of people are asking me about the Celtic game in a couple of weeks' time, and I get the reasons for that, but our game on Saturday needs our full attention, and that's all we are concentrating on is a tough game at Kilmarnock.
Derek McInnes returns to Kilmarnock with leaders' hearts. And as if that wasn't enough, there's another cracker on Sunday.
He steps up right-footed and he scores! It's Dundee 3, Livingston 2. Let's go! Guys in mind has done it!
We'll guide you through all the weekend's Premiership action.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Well, Scott Fraser, Ross County midfielder, and Joelle Murray, 48 times cap for Scotland, and of course part of the Hibs women's side, joins us for this podcast. Scott, no break for Ross County last time out, but a point that was pretty good going. You must still be riding a crest of a wave for that, looking ahead to the weekend.
Yeah, it was a really good point. I spoke about going away to the league leaders who are starting the season really well, and playing in that game you could see why. You know, the way they play, the way they move the ball, it's tough. But like you said earlier, to come away with a point when we probably weren't at our best, it can only be a positive thing.
And no break either for the SWPL, Joelle. And what's a result for Hibs last Sunday?
Yeah, it was a fantastic result. I think the girls showed a fantastic test. Well, it was a test of their character, Jane, going 2-0 down and coming back to win that one 3-2 in the fashion that we did. So yeah, a tremendous result against a very good Rangers team, obviously under the leadership of Leanne Crichton now.
Right, let's get down to the top flight action in the men's game, shall we? Of course, I think there's probably only one place to start. Let's kick off with Rangers, who have been the story of the week and beyond, probably, as they host Dundee United. Stephen Smith, Joelle, will be taking the side. How disappointed do you think Rangers will be that they've not managed to get a new permanent manager in ahead of this game?
Yeah, I think it was well reported that they were looking to try and get someone in permanently ahead of this fixture to try and kind of get that new management underway as quickly as possible for whatever reasons, reported logistical reasons, whether it be a Kevin Muscat or not. But yeah, I think they'll be disappointed because what it does, it just gives another period of uncertainty, another game that is a must-win game. I mean, every game for Rangers now is a must-win given the start and the poor start they've had. So yeah, I think there'll be disappointment there that they haven't secured a permanent fixture. But I think if they get the manager that they want, I think they'd appreciate the time period.
Scott, Joelle talks about it being a really unsettling period. What is it like specifically for the players during this time when you just don't know really who your new manager is? There's lots of speculation, but it's not done yet.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what Joelle said there in terms of the uncertainty. I think even when Russell Martin was in there, it almost felt like it was coming. So it's always had that sort of feeling of what's going to happen. I think from a player's point of view now, you know, they just need to get their head down and sort of crack on with, obviously under the Stevie Smith taking the game. In terms of it, just from the outside looking in, it just all seems a bit of a mess at the minute. Obviously thinking it was getting Steven Gerrard and then for him to pull out, and then it was Danny Rowe, I think, was the next one to take his name out of the hat. Why? Like, why wouldn't you want to go and manage a club like Rangers? It's a massive, massive football club. So something's obviously going on. Something's obviously went on with the Steven Gerrard one. It'll be interesting to see probably after the game today sort of what more comes out.
Yeah, intriguing times, certainly. It's Dundee United for them, Joelle, who I guess will provide a tough test, although the last couple of games, they've been a little bit off the boil.
Yeah, they have. They obviously had their European encounters at the start of the season, which naturally fatigue plays a part in domestic fixtures, but that really didn't happen. They've probably played the reverse of that in those scenarios. They started really, really well. They've not kind of lived up to those performance levels, albeit a few key players being out injured. But yeah, I think they'll be coming to Ibrox looking to put in a performance, get back to winning ways. They're of course yet to lose an away league game this season, so they'll be hoping to continue that streak.
Let's turn our attention to the rest of the weekend's fixtures, Scott. St Mirren host an Aberdeen side who finally registered a league win last time out and, of course, managed to find the back of the net as well. I would imagine the break probably came at quite a frustrating time for them, didn't it? They would have wanted to have kept that going.
1,000,000%. I think even before that, the Shakhtar game at home, I thought you could see in that game that they played a lot better. Obviously, they got their goals in that game as well. But I just think going into the Dundee game, they also got the confidence from the Shakhtar game the midweek, and then to go and get a good win and a good performance again. The last thing you want is in a period off where you're just itching for the next game to come. Saying that, the next game that they have got it's a tough game. Every game away at St Mirren's a really, really tough game. So I think if they could have handpicked maybe a different game, I think they would have.
Jimmy Tillin has been linked with the Swedish job, Joelle, albeit I don't think he's up there among the firm favourites. But how might that kind of speculation affect Aberdeen? It's probably the last thing that they want at the minute because they want to continue what was a really important result for them last time out.
Yeah, of course. I think, like Scott said, the international break certainly came at the wrong time for them. On the back of a lot of really poor performances and results, they got that significant win at Dundee. So they would have wanted to build on that momentum. But yeah, you're right. Jimmy Tillin been touted for that job. Probably touted, in my opinion, on the back of the really successful end of their season in the last campaign. So yeah, they'll be wanting to kind of put that aside, really focus on lifting themselves up the league and really building on that 4-0 very impressive result and performance against Dundee before the break, because their league position 12th, their points 4 points, not good enough for a club the size of Aberdeen.
Hibs hosting Livingston. I've specifically come to you on this one, Scott, because I want an impartial answer. So, Joelle, you just keep quiet during this one. But both teams obviously in need of a win. Hibs have had some really good draws, actually, but their last win domestically came against Livingston in the League Cup. And as for Livingston, Scott, last win came early August. They could both do with finding a bit of more consistency.
Yeah, exactly that. It's really two teams that are looking for their season to kickstart. I think both have only won one game, as you say there. I think Hibs was back on the opening day as well at Den. So, it's a long time for a side like Hibs to go without a Premiership win. Like you said, they've had some good draws in there. I think Celtic away, a really good point for them. So they'll be a case of just trying to get another win as quick as they can. The thing for me watching them is that I don't think they've performed that great in the games that I've seen. I think they've got a better squad as well than they did last season, which obviously brings its own challenges in, because then you're having to keep more better players happy. So I think with a European run at the start as well, maybe that's just sort of held them back a little bit in the league, because they had some really good results and performances in the early Europe stages. Something that they would have been looking to kick on from. I'm expecting them to pick up quite soon. I think with Livy, it's always difficult for them, obviously coming up Championship team. I think the way they've played in games that I've seen, particularly the Rangers game, obviously that was live, I thought they looked good. Quite unlucky, obviously, to lose the game. The game they have won was the Falkirk one, which they always say, beat teams that you expect to be around you. So the fact that they've done that should be a positive for them. And yeah, I'm sure Davey will be going into each game confident that they can nick a result.
And Motherwell at home to Falkirk. Motherwell probably chomping at the bit, Joelle, after that really disappointing last-minute loss before the break against Celtic. And Falkirk, a good draw, obviously, a very good draw for them before the break, ending Russell Martin's stint as the Rangers manager. But for Falkirk, only one league win so far. They'll be looking to try and get back into this one. But Motherwell have had a lot of plaudits, haven't they? Quite rightly so. They've been playing some great stuff.
Yeah, of course. I think everybody has been really surprised with the way Motherwell started the season, the way that Motherwell are playing. They're playing a really nice front-footed attacking style of football, and you can see they're getting their rewards for it. Probably didn't deserve that defeat at Parkhead, that last minute goal that they conceded. But yeah, a team that are really thriving under a fairly new manager and a style that really suits their personnel, and it's a style that has impressed me, and I've enjoyed watching the games that I've watched because, as I say, they're not a team that sits in, tries to stay compact. They really go on the attack, on the front foot, and look to try and win games from the off.
Now, possibly the most intriguing game of the weekend is the late kick-off, 5:45 at Rugby Park, and Derek McInnes returning to Rugby Park with his Hearts side, Scott, who are absolutely flying.
Exactly that, they are absolutely flying. They're in a really good place at the minute. I think in terms of recruitment and that, it's been quite remarkable. Some of the players that they've brought in, from where they've brought them in, for them to all gel as quickly and sort of take on what Derek and his coaching staff are wanting. I think it's a big plus. I think not just that, I think they've taken quite a lot of the burden off of Shanks to not just be the main goal scorer. You know, you're bringing on Braga, but also Big Halkett and Stephen Kingsley, Stuart Finlay at the back. You know, have chipped in with a few really important goals. So no, they are, as you said, they're flying at the minute, and long may that continue for them boys.
Well, Kilmarnock also have been impressive so far as well, Joelle. Stuart Joelle's side, really enjoyable to watch. But on top of that, they've only lost one league game all season, and they're third in the table.
Yeah, another team that started the season really, really well. It's a really competitive start to the season for the league as a whole, which can only be really good for Scottish football. But yeah, another team that started the season well, currently sitting in third, like you said, and they're scoring goals. When you look at goals scored for Hearts, which we know they've been scoring in an abundance, I think it's 16 in total in the league so far. You've got Kilmarnock sitting on 11 scored so far. So yeah, a team like Motherwell, who are going out to win games from the off, looking to play attacking football, attractive football, and you can see that they're doing that in the performances and the goals that they're getting. Yeah,
you speak about goals though. They do have problems up front, Scott, for this weekend, don't they? De Janeiro, Daniels ruled out for the season. Really disappointing news, obviously, for him and for the club. And Marley Watkins also injured.
Yeah, I seen the news the other day about the big lad. So yeah, that's really unfortunate for the club, but also for him as a player. You know, to know this early on that you're going to miss the rest of the season, I'm sure it's tough for him. But they've got a good group of experienced players in there at Kilmarnock. I'm sure they'll all be getting round them, and you know they've still got players there that are capable of stepping up. I think what Stuart Kettlewell's done, he's actually put a really good squad together, which is obviously shown in the results that they're getting so far. So, you know, I'm sure they'll come up with a plan to make sure that doesn't affect them.
Now, I know it's early days, Joelle, we're only 7 games in, and I would guess everyone involved with all these clubs will tell you, especially Hearts, will tell you they're not looking at the league table, but we most certainly are, and a massive incentive from a Hearts point of view. But with Celtic playing on Sunday, if they were to win on Saturday, they would go 5 points clear at the top of the table and undefeated after 8 games. I mean, it's quite the carrot to dangle in front of the players, isn't it? Just to keep that impressive run going.
Yeah, of course. I think there's the obvious cliche is focusing on the next game, but I've no doubt that Derek McInnes and the guys at Hearts will be looking at the table, because in my opinion, leagues are won on those early wins, those early foundations that are built, and certainly Hearts are building a lot of that. And like you said, I think a win at the weekend prior to Celtic's later fixture just gives them that extra cushion. So yeah, I've no doubt that there will be a sneaky eye on that table, because I truly believe that league titles are won on those early foundations.
In saying that, though, I mean, Hearts, they've had previous, haven't they, of posting really good early results, being up there at the right end of the table. And then because of injuries, because of, they just can't compete with the old firm Scott in terms of squad size and quality, they maybe then fall away. But do you get the feeling that this time around, there's a sense that it just feels a little bit different? Because when you look at their squad, and you've mentioned some of the players there, they have real strength in there, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I think we forget as well, we've still not seen the lad that they paid the $2 million for. And when you hear McInnes talking in the press, he talks him up. He talks like he's going to be a really, really good player for them. So the fact that we've not seen him yet, I think boys like Craig Halkett and even Harry Milne going and playing on the right, they've been a revelation. So it shows you, of course, bringing in the recruitment team that they've brought in there with the Jamestown Analytics has been, a godsend for them. But I think you're still seeing the coaching that McInnes is doing in terms of the likes of Halkett, Big Finlay at the back, Harry Milne going from a left back in the Championship to a really good performing right winger now. So I think in that sense, they're flying. I think their squad's really good. For me, I think it'll be and I hope that they're close enough come January, because then it'll be interesting to see, how big they go again. Obviously, Tony Bloom's come out and said that, there's money to spend and his idea. So I think if they're close enough, which hopefully they are, it keeps it interesting for everybody. I do think that they'll go again in January.
Yeah, there'll be a really good gauge of where they're at, I suppose, an early gauge, if you like, Joelle, because after this weekend when they play Kilmarnock, after that, of course, they face Celtic, and that presents them with a huge opportunity to maybe lay down a marker and to show people what maybe they can do this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, everyone's been impressed by the way they've started the season. I think that game will be really tasty, especially if it stays as close as it currently is, with 2 points between the two sides. So yeah, that'll be the real indicator. I think Scott hit the nail on the head in terms of the recruitment. When you bring in an abundance of players like Hearts have done this season, like clubs have done in seasons past, you often need that time for them to hit the ground running. But it's been super impressive that there's been an abundance of players that have come in and they've hit the ground instantly, and we're seeing that instant success at Hearts. And whether that be the calibre of players, the management team, or a combination of the two, I think that makes their success and where they're sitting in the league even more impressive. But yeah, certainly that Celtic game will be a tasty one, and one that will have a lot of eyes on, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. That one at Tynecastle as well in a couple of weeks' time. Well, let's focus finally on this Sunday. It's Dundee hosting Celtic, and Dundee's got a really heavy loss for them against Aberdeen last time out, as we've kind of previously touched on. What will Stephen Presley have been doing during the break to try and pick them up, to try and instill a little bit of confidence, I guess, after such a disappointing defeat?
Yeah, I think he would have got back on the training ground. He speaks a lot about the only way to get out of this is by hard work. From what I've heard, the training sessions that they get at Dundee are very good sessions, and obviously Presley will be hoping that that can start to translate to the pitch, because at the minute you're not really seeing too much from that side of it.
Celtic, probably fair to say, Joelle, not quite firing on all cylinders yet this season, although last time out they did get that important last-ditch winner. Can you put your finger on just why things just aren't quite as we've seen in previous seasons with Celtic?
No, I think is the immediate answer. It's difficult because you've got players like Maeda, who was player of the season last season, if I remember correctly, and he's certainly not lived up to those performance levels by a long stretch. So yeah, it's difficult. They've obviously had their fair share of injuries, but who hasn't? I think they're hoping that Alistair Johnston will be back this weekend or fairly soon. They've obviously got their off-field issues as well. So yeah, it's been an interesting start of the season for Celtic, but there's no doubt that they've got quality in the team that when it clicks, they'll get back to their best and they'll be the team that is scoring goals, not conceding goals and picking up points week in, week out. But yeah, it's just not there at the moment.
Scott, do you expect Celtic to re-find that kind of form that they've been synonymous with, sooner rather than later?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think it's a case of when it is and not if it is. And without being too disrespectful to Dundee, Celtic are probably looking at this game and thinking that this could be the time. I think Dundee's record at Dens against Celtic's really poor. I think I read it was like 37 years or something since they'd beaten Celtic at Dens, which is a long time. In terms of Celtic, watching them, there's a definite difference for me in terms of they still dominate games and they dominate possession and that, but it's probably the speed and the urgency that they play with these days. You were so used to seeing them flying forward with Callum McGregor and the sort of two centre halves being the three left back of the park. Whereas at the minute, watching them, it's a lot of sideways and it's getting up to the final third and it's coming back. So listen, the players are not lacking in confidence, but they're just playing a little bit below where their usual standards are. So I think it is a case of when it does click, I'm sure they'll go on that run that we're all used to.
Oh, guys, that's all we've got time for this podcast. So thank you to Scott Fraser and to Joelle Murray. I should say to you both, good luck in your respective games this weekend. But yeah, thanks for joining us on this podcast. And thank you for listening as well. Remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast, bright and early every day. So to make sure you don't miss out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have your push notifications turned on in your phone. BBC Scotland, of course, will have all your football covered this weekend as per usual. That's across radio, television and on our website as well, so you will not miss a thing. Bye-bye from us all.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.